why the narcissist always wins? Well, I'm going to discuss some of the reasons that I believe that the narcissist most of the time wins. I don't know if you have looked at other articles and videos. It's very seldom that you come across an article where the victim actually won or came out on top in whatever situation. I'm going to put forward a few ideas as to why I believe this is the reason. Firstly, often the victim, and sometimes the narcissist is in the family of origin, but also some of the time the victim actually has come from a narcissistic family. So there would have been somebody who was a full-blown narcissist or had very strong narcissistic tendencies within the family structure, and that caused the whole family to be dysfunctional. But then that child also, because their needs weren't being met and because of their surroundings, they would have had to, in order to survive, put their own wants and needs aside for the caregivers, therefore turning off their sort of internal truth switch, and rather looking to the outsiders to meet the outsiders' switches, which is a very damaging thing to do, because basically that's the same as what invalidation does. Therefore, you are not reacting on what your core inner self is telling you need. It's almost a way of being totally selfless, sort of feeding towards a people-pleasing type of scenario. I mean, it's like turning off your internal GPS. So that's the first thing, is that the victim actually is not in touch with what their own wants and needs are. Plus, for the fact that it seems like I've come across a concept now, and oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. It just seems to happen over and over again. Well, I've recognized right through my life, and it's called the double bind theory. That was first hypothesized by Dr. Gregory Bateson in the 1950s. He actually hypothesized that it actually could cause schizophrenia, and that's where in the family of origin the child was put into double binds where things contradicted one another, and it's especially permanent when it is a significant person in the person's life, and they find no matter what they do, it either it doesn't make sense or there's no answer to it, such as they hypothesized that the mother that says that she loves her child but coldly turns away at the same time. So the body language is saying, no, I don't love you, I don't want to be near you, I'm turning away from you. But the voice is saying that I love you, and this inside the child doesn't know which to believe, and it causes all kinds of confusion on different levels. It's also sort of where they it's like where the parent puts demands on the child, and then attaches things to it, like, if you love me, you will do this. But the other thing has nothing to do with whether the child loves the parent or not. So the child is stuck in a predicament. Sometimes also, no matter what the child does, they're going to be punished, or something negative is going to happen. They're given a whole lot of choices, which they're all bad, and if they do nothing, then that's also bad. Something bad will happen to them. Often it's got to be where the child or the adult, they've either been brainwashed or it's a reality into that this is kind of, there's no way out of this situation. And how I've experienced this in my life, firstly, is growing up in Zimbabwe, South Africa, from tiny, seeing how the black people were treated, and raising concerns about this, and then being met with, oh no, they're okay, and kind of excuses, but in myself seeing that it's wrong, and yet having parents telling me that it's right, and in a child's eyes, that is, I know in myself that I thought my parents were perfect, and I think all children do that. They believe that their parents know everything and that they're right and perfect. So the child's own mind is telling them something different. The reality in front of the child's eyes are different to what the parent is telling them. This causes confusion. And then also with me, mine, I was brought up in a family where, it was just an unspoken rule that you had to go to college, otherwise you were nothing, or university as we would have called it. And because I was dyslexic, severely dyslexic, really struggled with reading and other things, there was no help. I basically had to find my own way through school, and then being faced with this incredible dilemma as to, how do I meet this need? How do I go to college and not be able to do this thing? And the parent and the caregivers sitting in the background and doing nothing about it, expecting everything, realizing that there was a problem that I had no control over, but allowing me to sit there in my dilemma and feel the shame and pain of what they had projected out into this world, which was very painful. And then also, then later on, married to the narcissist, starting off with a low self-esteem, but with the narcissist, then deteriorating my self-esteem, constantly reinforcing how deficient I was in so many ways, and therefore making me feel absolutely useless, and treating me badly, so that I again was in the double bind of, this marriage is not meeting my needs. I'm not happy at all. I'm feeling pain. I don't quite know why I'm feeling pain. This person won't allow me to get close to them. I can't see what's wrong with them because they're not unfaithful. They have a good career. Everybody thinks they're great. Also still believing that, the things he said of me were true because it had been so ingrained in me, and here and there were elements of truth which made it very difficult to comprehend. So realizing all those things, but then being, and I suppose somewhat brainwashed, as I'm realizing now, as I've got out of it, and the sort of the brainwashing is sort of rinsing away, and I see that even though I'm dyslexic, there are things that I can do, but being totally brainwashed where I thought that I would be destitute on the streets if I left the marriage. So the double bind is that this is painful, but that's also painful. In other words, I'd be jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. And in some regards, I actually did do that because with the breakup and with the narcissist decompensating and then projecting everything full ball out onto me, and the subsequent trauma and everything that's ensued, it has kind of been like that. But I'm hoping for the future, as I become more aware of what actually went on, that I can correct it. The other thing that I've found has been very much of a double bind is that the fact that obviously I could not get the narcissist to cooperate. I needed extra help because of my disability and because of the way that he'd kind of held me back. I mean, pushing me to do, firstly, draining my self-esteem, and then pushing me to do something that he'd absolutely drained my self-esteem in as far as a career. And then when I kind of started to get it up and going, basically tripping me up and then slamming me with massive amounts of criticism, brutal honesty, all sorts of things, and absolutely decimating me. So then I get out of this marriage. I'm thinking, well, you know, I don't have the money, but I really need the court's help here. You know, struggling like crazy to pull the funds together to just get it before a judge. And then being totally let down by the justice system on top of it. So that is all a double bind. And it's kind of like the victim ends up getting set up like this, because now from the years of narcissistic abuse, my character has you know, been one of these where I kind of allow things to happen to me, and now with the no understanding in the justice system and the psychologists, and with everything else, and with the narcissist's absolute mastery of manipulation, which he's been doing since he was a little child. So he's way above any normal person who suddenly jumps in and tries to pick up as to what's going on. It's very seldom that the victim actually gets the upper hand, and that's why we need to talk about this sort of stuff, because if we can start bringing awareness to this and start understanding the situation better, it's going to help people in the future not to go through the sort of pain and agony that the rest of us have gone through, while the world is totally unaware, and even when you try and explain it to them, they don't believe you. So anyway, if you like my videos, please subscribe to me. It's Daylight Out of Darkness, and I so much appreciate all the kindness and support I've received from the people of YouTube. Thank you so much. Goodbye.